Good morning and welcome once again to the Generic Drugs Forum. We're hoping you're feeling welcome by now. We've said it a few times. We hope this presentation will be useful to you in your generic drug development. The presentation is focused on controlled correspondence, but you may hear me refer to controlled correspondence as controls, submissions, or plainly correspondence. The goal is to equip you with information on ways you may avoid having your submissions declined for review. Outlined here are the objectives. I'll provide a definition for each type, review what it is expected in those submissions, give examples of the kinds of submissions that result in not being accepted for substantive review, as well as offer some references that you may consult beyond this presentation. For valid controls, the agency has committed to responding to at least 90% of level 1 submissions within 60 calendar days and at least 90% of level 2 submissions within 120 calendar days from the FDA receive date. So you may be wondering, what is level 1? Level 1 controls are defined here on this slide. And I'd like to highlight that you may send correspondence pre-ANDA submission as well as post-ANDA approval. There are some instances where after an ANDA has been approved, you might have questions related to post-approval changes that are not specific to your ANDA. These questions may also be submitted if they're not addressed in the already provided CDER guidance. Level 2 is defined here. And it includes instances for submissions if, for example, clinical content needs to be evaluated, if you're requesting a covered product authorization to complete testing and development, if you propose a bioequivalence approach other than what is in the published product-specific guidance, and in cases where other offices need to be consulted or other centers need to be consulted. When you submit your controlled correspondence, please date your documents. The date of your document should be within 7 days of the FDA receive date. So for example, if you had a submission and your date for that correspondence was this past Friday on the 17th of March, and then you submitted it today on the 22nd, it would be acceptable because it falls within the 7 days. The submission should have the company letterhead, and it should have complete contact information. We want to be able to communicate with you. The submission should state that your drug development is related to an ANDA submission, whether it's a future ANDA submission or if it's an ANDA that's currently in review. If the control is related to an existing ANDA, pre-assigned or approved, please indicate that in both the portal and in your documentation. The control should contain complete reference listed drug information, both in your documents and selected appropriately in the portal. In your submission, please refer to the product as it is listed in the Orange Book. If it is not listed in the Orange Book, it should be related to an approved suitability petition. Otherwise, it would be declined for not referring to a strength that's in the Orange Book or a strength that has been approved by that suitability petition. We have arrived at our first challenge question. Is it true or false that a controlled correspondence should be dated and submitted within 14 days of the date of the correspondence? It's false. It should be dated and submitted within 7 days, 1 week. For inquiries related to maximum daily dose of the active ingredient, please propose a specific value and share how you calculated your proposal. Please also include your supporting documentation. For the maximum daily dose of an inactive ingredient, The Office of Generic Drugs will review a maximum of 3 proposals at one time per applicant. That may be one inactive ingredient with 3 proposed levels, or 3 different inactive ingredients, each having 1 proposed value, or a combination of 1 inactive ingredient with 2 proposed values and another inactive ingredient with 1 proposed value. Please do not include supporting toxicology or pharmacology data, nor provide the full proposed generic formulation. These are common reasons that we decline qualitative and quantitative, or Q1, Q2, submissions. Tables should have a complete and consistent information. So, information such as hydration forms, units of measurement, they should be the same for each proposed formulation. Different strengths and different fill volumes should be submitted separately. If the Office of Generic Drugs has informed you that your formulation would not likely result in a refuse to receive ANDA submission, additional formulations generally are not reviewed. Some product-specific guidances recommend a specific bioequivalence approach if the formula meets criteria for sameness. These inquiries should not be requested as Q1, Q2 reviews. Rather, asking if the formula is suitable for the approach outlined in the guidance. For post-approval inquiries, you still should select the reference-listed drug that was the basis of submission in the drug product information field. If you have an assigned ANDA, please select yes to the question that your control is related to your previously submitted ANDA or pre-assigned ANDA. You will then be prompted to enter the associated number. The reference-listed drug and related ANDA numbers should be referenced both in your uploaded documents and selected in the portal. If your inquiry has previous related correspondences, please include them. For example, you may have had an attempt or a few rounds for Q1, Q2 formulations. Please include the previous controls that are related to the same strength that received a substantive response. Include that submission, the original documentation, any information requests, if that was applicable, your response to those information requests, and the final agency response. We're not interested in multiple copies, nor unrelated controls, or controls that were not accepted for review. Lastly, we decline to review a submission if you include those that were not accepted for review. So please just don't include those. Second challenge question: what should your controlled correspondence include? Any information requests sent by the agency and responses to information requests? Multiple copies of previous related controlled correspondences that are not related to your current inquiry, or references or copies, multiple copies of controlled correspondence that have not been responded to. You guessed it, your information requests, your responses to the information requests, please include those with your inquiries when they're related. For post-approval inquiries, you still should select the reference-listed drug that was the basis of submission in the drug product information field. Sorry, I went back wrongly. Please upload a copy of your complete response letter for post-controlled complete response letter, control correspondence, upload the letter. Sorry about that, everyone. State what the deficiency is. What is your control addressing in that complete response letter? If your letter was issued prior to GDUFA 3, you may submit inquiries related to nitrosamines. Usually, controls with pending ANDAs are not valid. However, if you're asking to add a new strength or a new fill volume to your ANDA, this would be considered valid. A request for a covered product authorization to complete testing and development or questions related to nitrosamines would be valid controls if your ANDA is pending. Foreign applicants must utilize a U.S. agent. U.S. applicants may also use a designated agent. In both cases, a letter of authorization is required for this relationship. The document is valid for 1 year, and it should include full contact information for both entities. Please include a copy of this authorization with your control correspondence. When requesting a covered product authorization for testing and development, please clearly state if the samples will be used in humans or they will not be used for human use. The submissions for covered product authorization in humans should also include study protocols and informed consent documents. For device evaluations, please send the samples of the innovator and the proposed device. The control is not complete without receipt of the samples. The address where to send the samples is listed on the slide. To help prevent issues with the samples being delivered, we suggest that they be sent without a required signature and that they are not sent under temperature-controlled conditions. Submit the control only after you have received confirmation of delivery. Please reference the delivery confirmation in the control. Only one prototype of the device is reviewed at a time. Challenge question number 3. What should the letter of authorization include? Should it be on a corporate letterhead? Should it be dated within 1 year of the submission date? Contain full contact information, company name, title, address, phone number, and email? All of the above. Yes, all of the above. If you have concerns regarding your proposed active pharmaceutical ingredient, the form of it or the level of it, you may submit a control correspondence requesting the evaluation of the API. It is not part of a Q1, Q2 review. These inquiries for API may be submitted only after the agency confirms your inactive ingredients if your product is required to be Q1, Q2. Applicants may submit for a clarification of the agency's final response to a control correspondence. It is not a new separate control. It's rather a request of the original event ID. In your submission, include a copy of the original control, the information requests, your responses to the information requests, the letter of authorization, if applicable, and the final agency response. You have 7 calendar days after the agency's final response is uploaded into the portal to request a clarification. Be careful with waiver requests. Valid controls are those where the applicant requests waiver eligibility, for example, for BCS Class 3 products. A summary of things to keep in mind when entering information in the portal. If a product has a reference listed drug, select it. The way the company is listed in your documents should be the same way it's listed in the portal. This applies to both the applicant and the U.S. agent. Also, the point of contact should not be the same for both the applicant and the U.S. agent. Select yes in the portal when asked if you are a U.S. agent so that you may complete the fields for the applicant information. Our final challenge question is true or false. In a clarification of ambiguity request, you may ask FDA to review the new or additional information, as well as ask follow-up questions of the agency's response. That's false. So the agency will clarify the response, but it will be based on what you originally submitted in your original submission. So they will address how they could better communicate what they wanted to communicate to you based upon your original submission, not with consideration of new information or clarification from your point of view. Here are a few references. The guidances are listed here. Generic drug user fee authorization, our commitment letter that identifies what we've committed to do as far as deadlines are concerned. The guidance for covered product authorization. We have our websites listed here, and then there's also a previously recorded presentation regarding controlled correspondence that just highlights the changes that were implemented with GDUFA 3. I now welcome Dr. Zhang from the Office of Bioequivalence.